Oh, right. Well, we had some stuff to go over previously for the Candace Owens video. That's done. So I was thinking, did some politics, maybe some science stuff. You guys want to talk about science? That old thing. Okay. This is what I'm proposing. Helen, how's it going? Okay. I don't know if this is AI. It's 2 years ago, so probably not, huh? Oh, actually, you know what? I did a Answers in Genesis video before, and the problem is that they were using so much copyrighted music. It's hard for me to use it. So maybe we don't do that. Maybe we just go old school. Go with the there's another one. The genetic revolution, the manipulation of human DNA. Yo, Royale, how's it going? Welcome. Have I seen any good physics videos about the reflecting pool? No. I mean, I saw one chemistry one that they were talking about the hydrogen peroxide, and he was talking about that. So that was interesting. I honestly been paying that much close attention to it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that's just, it's happening. I'm not really super involved with it, you know? Okay, guys. Also, here, let's just do, maybe we'll get a, oh, okay, what's up? Royale with cheese from YouTube chat. Thanks, man. Thanks for the question. Hey, man, quick question. How was upper division biology, microbiology? I'm currently a paramedic, and while talking microbiology prereq for PA school, I fell in love with it. Thinking about getting a BS in micro. Oh, cool, man. That's really cool. Man, I think microbiology is the future. I genuinely do. I think it's also the final frontier of biology. So I think it's the future in regards to fuel, biofuels. It's the future of, because we can make it in algae, right? That we can make it really quickly in algae. I think it's the future for food. We can make proteins inside of microbes, and materials too. So new types of plastics, new things that we can create. They can be made inside of microbes. So we're talking plastics, that kind of thing. So it's, yeah, I mean, I think it's an incredibly cool thing. I'm personally more in the side of kind of using microbes as tools and manufacturing things through microbes. There's also kind of the side of environmental microbiology, where you kind of sample and look at the diversity of microbial life. And that's really cool too, because there's really no other set of organisms that are so diverse. All the different ways that microbes exist in the world, all the different metabolisms, all the different ways that they live, really is incredibly unique. And You don't get that type of diversity amongst like mammals, for example, even though mammals grow, like they live everywhere, right? But they're not drastically different in what we are as mammals. So I think that that's like a really cool thing about microbes, and I think it's the final frontier in terms of 99.9% of microbes that exist in the world are uncultured or unsequenced to science. So what that means is that we've never grown them and we don't know what's in their DNA. So there's just a huge amount of things to discover through microbiology. It really is the final frontier. I think that we are just beginning to learn about them, specifically because of next generation sequencing, because it was so hard to sequence them before. We really needed a pure culture of just one organism, and that's really, really, really hard to do with microbes. So now, though, with next generation sequencing, we can basically sequence entire populations of microbes together and see how they are living, what kind of microbes there are, and all that kind of stuff. So through next generation sequencing, we've basically discovered that microbes are everywhere, in the clouds, in our gut, and the roots for plants. It's really integral for life, all life on Earth, to have microbes with it. It really is pretty and fascinating. So I love microbiology, man. I think it's such a cool field. It is really such a cool field. But basically kind of like how it works is the team is kind of like microbiology. I play for the microbiology team, but my position on that team is kind of like, how a football team has different positions. My team is a molecular biologist. So I change the genome of microbes around to create new types of proteins, new types of organisms, new types of strains, that kind of thing. And that's like where I am, but there's a lot of different types of microbiology. So there's like cell biologists that are looking at different types of cells, there's physicists that work with microbes, because like diatoms, for example, the intricate structure of diatoms, what can that teach us about creating new types of structures, right? What can we use in terms of knowing these type of structures? Would that give us strength in new materials? And they do. And they do that. They use that in order to better understand, what we can make. And there's lots of different things that we're learning specifically about like architecture and stuff, and the strength of these structures through microbes. Royale, well, thanks for the insight, man. Just thought I'd stop by and ask. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you, Royale. Appreciate you. Meteor in YouTube chat, thanks for hanging out, man. If you feel it might be a passion, I don't see why not. Yeah, I agree. It does so much beyond what you can understand of all those different types of fields with microbes. Yep. Yeah, Meteor. It's cool. Microbiology really is there's lots of different places, lots of different teams that you can play on. And the best way to figure out if you actually like something and you're interested, it looks like not really interested in, maybe you're going to PA school, so you already have your destination in mind. But if you were, and I do think that the best way to spend your undergrad is to try to figure out a lab and volunteer there. So volunteer for a microbiology lab if you're interested in microbes, that kind of thing. It's really the best way to spend your time, I think. What's up, Ducray? How's it going? All right. We are doing well, guys. Excuse me. Yeah, I think we did a bunch of politics stuff today, so I was thinking about doing more science stuff tonight. Yeah, yeah. Um, We can do science. We can do science stuff. That old thing. That old science thing. Gross. Science is boring, guys. What do you mean? Science is boring. Okay. So I had... Let me just skim this. I had seen this, and I'm so scared of like watching a science video.
Scientists are splicing and dicing the very building.
Scientists are slicing and dicing. Let's do a first case of Ebola in France. Yes, I heard about that, Kaylin. Thank you. Yeah, I think it was pretty much inevitable that there was going to be some way that Ebola touched Europe. And the problem is how the United States is reacting, how people are pushed to lie about the screening process. I mean, it might happen here too. It's very, very dangerous. I feel like Hunter Biden for president. Let's go. Okay, well, I mean, in the guys, this is on my watch later. Putting our heads in the sand again. I know. I agree. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, how are we shaping the future of DNA and organisms in the future? I think that is such an interesting question. What are humans doing and with DNA that can alter who we are, what we are now, and for our kiddos and the things that are around us? And what are the question is, what is the future like with DNA manipulation in the hands of humans, where we can rapidly and specifically make DNA alterations? So I have a video, The Genetic Revolution, the manipulation of human DNA. Deoxyribonucleic acid. I'm sure you probably know that one. Really do. Beagles are used a lot. R.I.P. legend, Dr. Jane Goodall.
We're meddling about with nature's blueprint.
Are we ready?
No way. Jane Goodall's anti-genetic manipulation. No, don't say that. This was what's his face? He was the NIH director at the time of DNA. Something Francis. I wonder which one they're going to talk about. I mean, yeah, guys. I mean, it's hard to say that people like him really shouldn't get any type of treatment, right? I mean, what are we doing if not trying to use the latest tools in order to medically help people to live a higher quality of life? And if we can, we should. I think that there is ethical considerations for sure that we should be talking about, and we should absolutely be discussing as a scientific community and as a community at large. But for people that are suffering, that can have massive quality of life improvements, the onus is really to save those people. Would I ever debate Kent Hovind again? Absolutely, Spider. I don't think that he would ever debate me again, though. He doesn't ever want to see me again. Control F, right? A control find and then a control paste. You can change things, and basically it was the it's the DNA immune system, basically. Pieces of viral DNA that are found to be harmful. Pieces of those viral DNA was saved inside of the genome of the bacteria, so that if it ever saw that DNA virus again, it would go use those molecular scissors and cut it up. So that changes. Meteor, what's up, dude? Recent sub here. It's nice to see an actual science in the field boxing misinformation. Gosh, we have failed to keep it in check for you to feel the need to step into the ring. Oh, dude, Meteor, it's both of it, man. It's both of it. Retroviruses? Yeah, Alan, I think that it would be like actually. So it's interesting. DNA is a protein with a RNA piece on it, so it actually cuts. It can cut DNA or RNA viruses. It's actually shown to do both, which is interesting. So that's that's an interesting question. So it'd be before or after. A retrovirus is a virus with reverse transcriptase, where it can go from RNA to DNA and integrate into the genome. But sometimes sometimes viruses have their own reverse transcriptase, sometimes they don't. And also the viruses are really cool too. They'll actually have their anti-CRISPR systems. So the CRISPR system within the virus can deliver and kind of like sabotage the bacteria in order to stop them from attacking the virus. I mean, it's really cool stuff.
Can CRISPR cut out the single letter error in...
But also remember, the original wild type CRISPR system isn't what they're actually using in order to use as medicine, guys. It's a highly evolved, highly specific new type of medicine that helps be very, very, very specific. It doesn't have the off-target effects that we see in the wild type. They'll sequence his genome and then put in those specific proteins. So there's a lot of different ways to make a protein, and it's called codon optimization, where the different types of codons can make the different types of proteins. And what you can do is you can make a bacteria CRISPR, but then you could also make a humanized CRISPR. You can also make a humanized version of a protein. So basically within these bacterial systems, they'll actually kind of like create these things. That'll be the first thing. And then additionally, the next step further would be actually creating a human cell tissue culture, where it's literally the cell tissue culture has his blueprint in there. So it really, really is cool. Hey, Jared, what's up, man? So what exactly is that conspiracy theorists have against CRISPR? I have heard anti-vaxxers in your recent video bring it up, but it was never discussed in detail. Haas brought it up in he's the Lysenkoist. So, but I don't think that they really understand what CRISPR is. It's from the layman's view. People that are anti-science are against CRISPR because of the ethical implications, and they feel like there's a chance of scientists taking over the world with new type of superhumans or that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like what it is. How do we get just one in every cell? How do we get just one in every cell of what? What do you mean, Steve? There usually isn't just one in every cell. Are you talking about the DNA mutation that's causing this problem?
He has twice the normal amount of muscle mass.
Damn.
Put him beside an ordinary beagle.
Wow. We just had a large beagle farm shut down in our country. Yeah, Ghostbusters. I think that there's look, guys, I think there are really important ethical considerations for animal testing, right? Are we advocating for animal testing? I think Amy, you have to, for sure. I think you have to have animal testing, or else you're going to have more harm done to humans. So I think that these animals should be revered, and their lives should not be taken lightly, and they should have as good of lives as we possibly can give them. But in order to have medicine that exists in the world for humans, there has to be animal testing before that. There just has to be. If you remove animal testing, what happens is that you go from human cell tissue culture straight to humans, and you're going to have wild amounts of off target or, problems that you just never would see in human cell tissue culture. Because I mean, humans are like a single celled that are grown in a petri dish, and that one all the way to humans. So it's really, we either have, and this is a problem that we're actually having right now, is that RFK is removing funding for a lot of animal testing, which is, they think that erroneously, he basically thinks that because AI exists, we don't have to have animal testing anymore, which is just wrong, and it's dangerous. So that's very, 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 very wrong. Meteor in YouTube chat, what's up, man? It's a tough call for balance, because really our only option to test is doing it to humans, which is so complex to begin with. Yeah, I think that's for sure. I mean, these lives have to be revered, and we have to not take it lightly. It's all very, very expensive and very, very regulated for good reason to test on animals, and very hard. It's one of the reasons why I don't work with mammals in my research, just because it's like very hard for me, to deal with that. I like having millions of subjects. I like having millions of, I like changing DNA around basically. In these organisms, it's too hard to do that, and it's too difficult. Yeah, we don't want this anymore. I mean, Artiste, I don't think that you would want to live in a world with no animal testing, because you would live in a world without medicine. So that's the problem. They do it on humans. We just don't know about it. They do. Nicole, I mean, that's a conspiracy. You don't have any proof of that. China, the guy that did do it, went to prison, and the entire scientific community was revolted that he actually did do it on humans, with one of the wild type Cas9s, and people were absolutely up in arms about it. So it wasn't like something that scientists were okay with. These labs are not doing any of it ethically. So these labs are in China. So our laws regulating animal testing in the States aren't going to regulate them. And so the reality is that people are going to do it. They are going to do it. So it's better for us to regulate it and to be a part of this conversation on how to do animal testing regularly, as opposed to abstain from it and say that nobody should be doing animal testing, because in reality, people will do it. They did it on concentration camps, just like they did in the 1940s. Yeah, I mean, Nicole, I would not compare that to these type of conditions at all, and it's actually kind of, it's not that's actually gross on your end, because this is nowhere near the Holocaust. So that's not okay. Have you personally visited the labs? No, I've not been to China and personally visited these labs. No, but I've done mammalian testing before. I've absolutely done mammalian testing for one of my stuff. Yeah, we created a anti-cancer immunotoxin in algae, and we had to test it on mice that had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma with it. So the mice had cancers. Yeah. For development testing of anything required, and you can't stop. Yeah, I think that you have to at some level. Yeah. What the conditions are like in the United States. So in the United States, it's a lot different. So yeah, I mean, it just is what it is.
Mate,
it's not all sad, Nicole. What about the humans that are that have a huge quality of life improvement because of this? So I think that you're focusing on this without focusing on the human suffering that is happening. That's what's so frustrating. It is, in order to, be a surgeon, you have to cut someone open, and, if you want to cut into someone, like think of the maiming and the damage that you're doing to someone. Well, it's like, but at the same time, like, well, I mean, if you're a surgeon and you do it right and you do it correctly, actually like cutting into someone is necessary in order to try to, you know, fix that disease that someone has. So I think that you have to look at the bigger picture. Well, if they start making fake food and making people sick, I know people have choices. What? I don't understand what that is. Why do you think that the humans deserve the benefits at the hands of animal abusers? They're not abusing the animals, I don't think. I mean, I think that you have like, yeah, I mean, we can improve the quality of life of people. So, you know, for millions or thousands of millions of people, you know, I think that it has a big impact. I mean, you're basically saying without like what you're saying, without animal testing, we wouldn't have vaccines. And without vaccines, you're basically saying that we would have hundreds of millions of people dead. And yet you're okay with that. I mean, that's what you're advocating for right now. If you're saying that all animals that are being abused, and there's no way that you could possibly, and there's no reason for animals to ever be a part of scientific research, you're basically saying that vaccines should never have been developed and that you would have been okayed with hundreds of millions of people losing their lives in the 1900s. I'm just sorry, but that's the truth. Jared in YouTube chat, how's it going, man? Without animal testing, we would have. Without animal testing, would we have insulin? No, definitely not. Before insulin, diabetes was basically a death sentence. Am I wrong? Yeah, type 1 diabetics are allowed to live. Yeah, for sure. There needs to be room for nuance. Animal testing is not black or white. Yeah, I mean, for what it is, I think that those conditions are not okay. I think that they should definitely have better conditions than that. Like, we should be listening to, you know, people that are animal rights advocates. Absolutely. So I don't think that your concerns are invalid at all. But like, we should have and give these animals the best quality of life possible. I don't think that those were the best quality of life possible, but they should be way better than that. But at the same time, like, this is important enough to put a lot of money into and to help these organisms live. So why aren't you doing more to support that? I'm literally talking about it on the internet right now, and we're talking about bioethics right now. Like, what are you talking about? I am a scientist, and that's my field. Like, what do you expect me to do? What do you expect me to do? I'm advocating it for on the internet as one of the only research scientists on TikTok and YouTube that has a live stream going right now talking about this very issue, and you're saying, what am I doing? What am I even doing to support that? What I am doing right now. Like, that's it. Link me another YouTube or TikTok stream of an actual research scientist with 17 years in the field that's doing this. Like, what? There's no excuse to allow circumstances to continue. Stand up to the government pressure. Jojo, I don't know if you're aware, but do you realize that there is a fascist takeover of the United States government right now with tens of thousands of scientists leaving the federal government? Like, we are being pushed out systematically. Like, what are you talking about? Like, science as an institution in the country is being deconstructed. So just me saying, like, hey, I think that you guys should care about science. Like, bro, like, do you understand what's happening? Like, what?
To design.
Are you going before Congress? Why would you think that going in front of Congress, an all Republican Congress, is going to help advocate for this issue when the Republicans are the exact group that are defunding science and trying to take this away? Like, what? I know, and Michelle's talking about science and freedom for everyone. I have founded a nonprofit 501c3 organization literally, saferi.org. And we literally talk about how science can better influence legislation. So what, what are we doing? What, it's such a weird, oh my gosh, he's talking about mitochondrial DNA. That's amazing. That is so cool. That is so cool. Yeah. So he's talking about 3 parent kids. So basically your mitochondria within your cells can have their own genome, and that could be a 3rd parent, because your mitochondria comes in all from your XX side, because as the sperm it goes into the egg, all the mitochondria in the sperm is in the tail. As the tail falls off, then the sperm head goes into the egg. And therefore, you can basically change the mitochondrial DNA of the egg and differentiate it. So, and this has actually happened in the UK. There are people, there are 3 parent babies that have actually been going in. Even minimum standards have not been enforced to protect the short lives of lab animals. I mean, Jojo, I agree that they should have absolute better and great lives. Again, I've said it again. Like, these animals should be revered. Like, they are paying the ultimate sacrifice, and we should do whatever we can to have them have an incredible life. What is the benefit of the 3rd parent? I don't understand. Well, it could be, a lot of different reasons. So a couple to pay to have their it could be like let's say they don't have, they're infertile, or they can't produce something, that there's like some genetic abnormality or something like that. So yeah. So a couple to pay to have the Einstein injected into their egg as the 3rd parent. I'm taking it to this. I mean, mitochondrial DNA isn't that extreme. It's not going to impact something like intelligence or something like that. I mean, personally, I think designer babies, unless they are to cure, to change diseases so that they can, I think that the idea of a designer baby is a little cringe, in my opinion. Fixing diseases, I can understand. Choosing traits, a little cringe, not okay. For all of our children, we didn't even want to know the gender. We didn't even do any of that stuff. We just wanted to know genetic abnormalities or not, and that was it. And all of my kids are so different and so incredible in their own on their own ways that I would never want to have just a quote unquote baby that I designed. I think that gets into a really weird thing that, and you want to, annoying. Annoying. Okay, well, let's keep going. Let's see what's going on. Oh man, getting a content claim. Yeah, there's some type of error that came from the from the video. They detected it. Not it's that sucks. We tried, guys. We tried. I don't want to get the stream taken down. There's too much. YouTube is really in on that. What to do? I mean, you can give people traits, but don't necessarily mean that they'll have the skills to hit a ball or to hit a jump shot or have the motivation or the drive. Yeah, Ghostbusters. I think the problem is it creates. I do see a scenario in the future where you could have there could be countries that don't have the medicine for gene therapies, for example, and now those countries have more disease, higher healthcare costs that are related to that, and they don't have access to the gene therapy stuff that they need. So what happens is basically those countries it's a higher cost of healthcare, it's a higher cost of life, diminished quality of life. So I think that it's very dangerous. Okay. Yeah, it already went down. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, well, we tried, guys. We tried. More people need to watch Gattaca. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that, in the idea of fixing disease versus enhancement, gene therapy enhancement, enhancement is its own thing. And I think that fear mongering about enhancement to stop medicine that is fixing problems is a bad idea. I think they're not the same, and I don't think that they should be conflated. I would, hey, thank you for following COVID MD. How's it going? I would love a response to this. I don't think we should scrap eugenics entirely, or at least the idea of selective breeding. I think there's potential there. Selective breeding for humans or just in general? Because I mean, the U word I tried not to use. I tried to use medicines, fixing disease, curing disease, or gene therapy for enhancement purposes. So for enhancements is its own thing. For diseases is another thing. So I am firmly in support of gene therapy for humans to be cured of disease, like for sure. I think that should be, and that's a good route to have. For enhancements, I don't agree. I don't think that's a good idea. It's objectively proven that you can make genetically stronger individuals, isn't it? I mean, just kind of like with the beagle example, I think that you could. I think that it is possible, but I wouldn't expect that or want that to be a human project, basically. But it didn't do that with the podcast interview. If that's interesting, yeah, Ducray, I know. I don't know what it is. For some videos, it just allows that to happen, and then in some it just doesn't. I don't know why. Some stuff it just maybe it's the background music, maybe it's the I know Jubilee videos are notoriously really hard to do that. So, but yeah. Eugenics is only seen as a bad thing because it was fronted by racists at the beginning. Yeah, I mean, but also why use such a loaded term? Science is trying to get this right in the bioethics side of things, and I think that liberals too often fall on grenades to try to prove a point. And bad messaging can kill a movement. And I think that something that science is trying to do right with this, gene therapy approach is get that right. So I wouldn't be out there advocating for the use of a really loaded term and being we're going to recoin the term. We're gonna take back the term eugenics. That is not. I don't like that. That's are we in the process, and are we in the business of trying to help people through medicine, or are we in the thought process of trying to rehash old debates and using loaded terms, but taking ownership of it? I don't think that that's great. I'm not a big fan of limiting people's rights to procreation. Yeah, Ducray, I think that's a good point. I think that giving them the tools that they have in order to have, if they can't have a baby, giving them the tools that they can. I think that that's an important thing. Yeah, we got 6 people on YouTube right now. I've always had the idea of a consent-based managed selective breeding program. I mean, what would be the purpose? What would be the purpose of the selective breeding program? I wouldn't want that, because you're basically creating. That's. Yeah, I mean, why not use gene therapy, targeted gene therapy approaches? I think that that's a lot better. Yeah, exactly right. And yeah, exactly. The kids are never going to be able to consent to that, So that's that. They don't want to be a part of it, but they do want to be a part of a. They do want to be a part of a program where they don't have to live with a disease any longer. I think that that's the bigger point. Yes, exactly. Ghostbusters. Exactly. Gut feeling. This line of comments is going to take it down a far right turn into disaster town. Yeah, I agree. I mean, also, think about what inbreeding is. Inbreeding is basically the accumulation of deleterious mutations within a breeding population. So what happens is that your breeding population has mutations in it that have mutations that remove parts of the instruction manual. So like, not capable of making a steering wheel or something, for a car. So the idea is that with immigration, the immigration is into the population, emigration is out of it. And the point is that as new organisms come into the gene pool, what happens is that those that are immigrating come in with the basically correct instruction manual. So the correct instruction manual basically allows it to fix those mutations. So that, just think about that as, it's very tough. It's very tough. Royalty music, yeah, it might be the music, honestly, yeah, it is. I guess the problem would be akin to generationships. The first person consented to it, but how about the following generations? Yeah, I mean, also there's a lot of ethical considerations here. That's very wrong. But in general, no child is going to choose to have a disease if they have the possibility to not. You know what I mean? Did you know that abortion is still legal in Wyoming? Oh, interesting. Okay. I mean, it's up to the state, right? Since Roe got rescinded. It's in the states, so that makes sense that Wyoming or a like libertarian is going to be okay with it. My niece is alive due to its gene and the gene therapy. Oh, okay, cool, Michelle. That's awesome. I like it. Yeah, I mean, we could definitely develop space travel. I think that's something that's totally fine. I think investing into that kind of stuff is okay in general. Oh man, I wanted to. It's so annoying. It's legal in Michigan too. Yeah, good. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of states where it is legal. I mean, it's important. Have scientists found a way to modify irregular genetic mutations in pregnancy? In theory, yes, Ruben, but people aren't doing it now. We're waiting until the baby's born. So yes, in theory, we could change the mutation of the kiddos when there's just a zygote, but they haven't. I think that we could. Does settling on different planets pose the same issues? I didn't consent to be born and have to live on Mars. That's an interesting question. That is an interesting question. I can see what you're talking about, where it's like, did the generational kids that would be born on Mars, would they have been signed up and consented to be a part of this experiment? Then I can understand that too, because that's a very steep ask of those kids. Hey, Sheepadoodle, how's it going? A lot of states vote for it because of conservative suburban women who sympathize with it. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh my gosh. We did it. It is nuanced, yeah, dude, Craig. Because I mean, kids don't consent to anything really. You have your ability as a parent to, to take control of their life. It is, yeah. Hi, I'm speaking of voting. Your thoughts on the election in California, especially LA? I mean, I think Spencer Pratt is very cringe. I don't think that we should have reality television stars running for office. I think the problem with Spencer Pratt and reality television stars in general is that these people actually haven't completed or accomplished anything in their life. So the idea that they should be able to just be elected, like, I understand it's democracy and I understand that if they get the votes that they win, but like, why are we electing people that have no accomplishments? That's what I don't understand. That's what I don't understand. Hey Ness, how's it going? Oh, the conspiracies. Oh man, the conspiracies. It's because it follows the same playbook that happened with Trump in 2020, right? Where it's like, we went to bed and Trump was the winner, and then now we woke up and Trump lost. I don't think that it's pretty wild. They're just throwing anything at the wall to see if it sticks. I mean, to be fair, there's so many politicians who didn't accomplish anything before being elected. Well, yeah, exactly, Lucky. That's my whole point. Exactly. Like, why are we like putting these people into a position of power when they haven't actually done anything of note, like haven't accomplished or contributed to people in a meaningful way? I don't know. Oh, you know what we should do? We should listen to Democracy Now!, the War on Peace report. The kids of conservatives didn't sign up for that. Yeah, it's true. The kids of religious people didn't sign up for that. I know, the indoctrination of kids at a young age. Yep. The kids of Detroit Lions fans didn't sign up for that. Yeah, exactly, Jared. Do you have a refutation to the cosmological argument for God's existence? No, atheist. I mean, the atheist Luke. I mean, I don't. I grew up. At the beginning of my teenage years, I basically started questioning God's existence, and at the end of my teenage years, I was a full atheist. So that's what it is. If you operate under a utilitarian system, then we should absolutely do selective breeding, disregard consent entirely. No, I think that we could live free and liberated lives without having to do anything like that. We could improve the quality of life and quality of life for people enough that we don't have to do things like that. Nico, I thought you were a Christian atheist. Yeah, I mean, that's how I couch my my views to Christians that don't understand where I get my values from. So, yeah, I am in the fact that I think that the values that Jesus Christ of Nazareth espoused is a good thing. So but I am an atheist. Would you say that people that aren't born in the USA should not be able to run for office? No, I mean they should definitely be able to run. Whether or not they should be able to be president of the United States, I guess, is kind of its own question. I'd probably say no, just because then that is inherently a lot more dangerous than not. So yeah. Oh, they're reopening. I'm not a deist. No. I don't believe in the existence of God. I just think that Jesus Christ espoused interesting things without thinking that he's a God. A true atheist would not waste energy to argue a negative fact. Okay. I mean, I think that it's important in order to kind of tell people how and why I've created and come to my conclusions. So that's what we're talking about. Hey, Stop the Stupidity. How's it going? Ted Kennedy had no experience before he became a senator and accomplished so much. I think with a little bit more, I mean, the argument could be said that, with a little bit of education and a little bit more, humbling, that he might even been better. So I don't think it's a cut and dry thing. You have to read the Bible before you can claim you don't agree with it. I have, Ruben. I mean, I haven't read it cover to cover, but I was a Christian for 16 years of my life. So, I mean, for sure. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Venezuela's acting president, Elsie Rodriguez, has declared a state of emergency after scores of people were killed and over 1,000 injured by two powerful earthquakes that struck near the capital, Caracas, on Wednesday evening. The death toll is currently at over 160, but likely to continue rising as rescue workers frantically search for survivors in the rubble of at least dozens of collapsed buildings. The first earthquake, registered 7.2 on the Richter scale, was followed less than a minute later by an even more powerful 7.5 magnitude earthquake. This is a survivor.
Oh, no.
Fortunately, my family, my wife, my granddaughter, and I were out of the apartment building. When we got back, we saw it was completely destroyed. Luckily, the neighbors managed to save their lives, too. What can I say? How many families are going to end up like this with destroyed buildings in Caracas?
The U.S. Geological... survey warns there's a high chance the death toll could rise into the tens of thousands or even top 100,000. When
100,000? A death toll? Really? What? Oh my gosh. King Alpha. So president must be born in one of the United States. I think that that's fair, but governor, not so much. Yeah, I think that we're diffuse enough so that I think governors could be born in other places. I think that that's fine. Same thing with senators and stuff. Yeah, I think that that's okay. Yeah, 5.6, but like the difference between a 5.6 and a 7 is like 2 orders of magnitude because it's a logarithmic scale, sheepadoodle. So it's like, it's 2 orders of magnitude bigger. I mean, 100K is wild, man. That is wild.
Wednesday's earthquakes follow U.S. airstrikes on Caracas and other Venezuelan cities in January, which came after 20 years of devastating U.S. sanctions that left Caracas's electrical grid and other infrastructure in disrepair. After headlines, we'll talk about what's happening there. The White House has asked Congress to approve nearly $88 billion in supplemental funding, mostly to cover the cost of the U.S. war in Iran.
Oh,
That's
my
down
gosh.
from the $200 billion request floated by Defense Secretary
Too much money.
Hegseth in March, but still dwarfs the pace of military spending during the height of the U.S. occupations of Iraq and Afghanistan. On Wednesday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Gulf allies in Kuwait, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates.
Stop this, dude. Stop the stupidity. 5 gift subs. Again, thank you so much, brother. You're so kind. All right, Meteor's got one. Jaded, Devils, Sung Gang, Rebel. Thank you, dude. Thank you so much. Another $88 billion, dude. Are you serious? That's double the amount that we spend every year. Like we're spending less than $50 billion on all of science together, and we're just given $90 billion at a pin drop for this guy. What is going on? What is going on? Like, that is wild. I never got the whole presidents must be born in the U.S. thing. Like, what? The U.S. is born from foreigners and immigrants. It must be meant to be open for everyone. So why can't immigrants be president? I mean, I'm sympathetic to that. I think the idea with the framers was that it was a subversion of, like, basically having you could have a Manchurian candidate come in and kind of take over the country. And I think that's at least that's what they're talking about. And that's why the Electoral College is there, for example, in order to try to stop that from happening. So are you serious? Elaine Chao or Donald Trump?
Talks with Iran are scheduled for next week in Geneva and ruled out any deal in which Iran would charge a fee for passage through the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh my gosh.
I know of no country on the planet that supports tolling or a fee for the use of the straits. That's not going to happen. The president has been abundantly clear.
That's what it was before. Isn't it wild, guys, that Marco Rubio is begging for what it was before Trump started this insanity? Like, we are literally begging for him, for Iran to just go back to how it was before. Like, what, dude? Oh, my gosh. Well, to some in the Oval Office, the Constitution is simply a suggestion. True. Exactly.
Israeli attacks killed at least 2 people in southern Lebanon Wednesday, coming despite the renewed ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran, which requires an end to Israel's occupation of southern Lebanon. On Wednesday, the U.S. hosted another round of talks between Israeli and Lebanese diplomats. Once again, Hezbollah was not a party to the talks. In Tel Aviv, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said Israeli troops would not withdraw from southern Lebanon.
Jeez.
The IDF is prepared, and we are not retreating. We announced that in any case, we are not withdrawing. And as of this moment, this is a political achievement. There is no American demand for Israel to withdraw from Lebanon.
What?
In Gaza, an Israeli
Dude,
drone struck
it's too much, guys. It's too much. It's wild. Like, how... What are they doing? It's just... Like, what a mess. What an absolute mess. The United States and Israel are going to be in an absolute endless war in the Middle East now. Like, the pics of southern Lebanon are they're devastating, I bet, yeah. We let Iran profit off of 36 million barrels of oil in the last couple of days. I bet, Ghostbusters. I mean, we taught them, we taught the Iranians that they have the entire world economy in their hands. We literally taught them this. It is wild to me.
Tent housing displaced Palestinians in Al-Mawasi on Wednesday, killing a 12...
Dude, I totally agree, Stop the Stupidity. Yeah, we need to stop giving them weapons. I mean, dude, they are sabotaging the deal that Marco Rubio was just talking about. They were begging Iran to stop while Israel in the other room is sabotaging the deal. Like, what?
12-year-old child and wounding several others. The attack came one day after a United Nations Commission of Inquiry reported Israel's deliberate targeting of children as part of an ongoing genocide against Gaza's Palestinian population. In the occupied West Bank, Israeli forces shot and killed a 29-year-old Palestinian man during a raid on the town of Al-Yamoun, west of Jenin. Meanwhile, the Palestinian journalist Mujahid Bani Mufla has released shocking images taken before and after he was jailed by Israel without charge in a so-called administrative detention. Bani Mufla says during his 6 months in captivity, he was starved and abused. He suffered a severe brain hemorrhage just 2 days after his release and had to have parts of his skull removed.
That's
in a statement, the Palestinian Prisoners Society says Mufla is not an isolated case and that, quote, thousands have been subjected to systematic violations inside Israeli prisons, including torture, starvation, denial of treatment, physical and psychological assaults, in addition to continuous psychological terror. San Jose State University has been ordered to reinstate a tenured professor who was fired for her pro-Palestinian activism. An arbitrator issued the order to rehire Professor Sankil after finding her dismissal was, quote, excessive and disproportionate, unquote. Professor Keel hailed the ruling as a, quote, victory for academic freedom on campus and pro-Palestine speech, unquote. Keel had been fired after participating in 3 on-campus demonstrations over the war in Gaza. She also served as faculty advisor to Students for Justice in Palestine. President Trump...
It's so targeted and so specific. I mean, the Trump administration came in and it specifically did that stuff. That's wild to me, man.
Abruptly called off plans to sign a bipartisan housing bill on Wednesday, less than 2 hours before a scheduled signing ceremony. On social media, Trump declared the event was, quote, hereby canceled until such a time as we pass the desperately needed Save America Act, which I consider to be a national emergency, he wrote.
Like, housing bill. Let's go. I want to go over the housing bill too. Housing bill. Dude, what is happening, dude? I'm so confused. If we finally have a housing bill that's passed, And a bipartisan bill too. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It's an 85-5 bill. Is that right? 85-5 in the Senate. It's the most sweeping federal housing legislation in over 3 decades. I mean, if it's 85-5, that's the crazy thing is guys, he cancels the conference. He cancels the signing of it, which is what? Nefarious, right? Because he's not vetoing it. And you can see why. Look, it's 358 in the House, 85-5 in the Senate, which means that what? Who knows their civics? That's an important threshold to know. If Trump vetoes it, they can come back. The Senate can come back. So he's just delaying this now. So now he's purposefully just sabotaging this on purpose. That's crazy.
Legislation would require voters to.
Both sides wanted to run in this. It's the housing. Everyone wants this, and Trump knows it. Same reason he sabotaged the immigration bill during Biden's term. Jerry, that's a really good point. Yeah, he might just like be doing that. Yeah, I agree. That's a good point. If he vetoes it, they can use that level of majority to essentially declare the bill a mandate. Exactly, Shiloh. Ghostbusters. Apparently they had the whole press conference all decked out, set to go, and he pulled the plug. No way. Who were the 5? That's a really good question. That's a good question. Okay, let's see. Okay, go over this bill. Details and who are the 5 that voted no. What? There. Control V. Right. Okay. Okay. We'll go over this in a second.
Produce passports or birth certificates showing their current name in order to register to vote or update voter registration information. Voting rights experts say it could disenfranchise millions of citizens. Meanwhile, Trump visited Capitol Hill for a closed-door meeting with Senate Republicans where he castigated them for refusing to abolish the filibuster in order to pass the Save America Act. The meeting reportedly...
Dude, he's trying to abolish this filibuster for the Save America Act? What?
Devolved into a shouting match between Trump and Louisiana Senator Dr. Bill Cassidy, who sided with most Democrats and 3 other Republican senators in favor of a resolution ordering Trump end the U.S. war on Iran.
True. That was wild.
The Senate voted 45-50 to defeat a second nearly identical war powers resolution on Iran after Senator Cassidy reversed his vote and Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul voted present. Ukraine's
what an absolute coward, dude. Rand Paul is such a coward, bro. Man, he always talks so strong, and then now all of a sudden, like, okay, so all the 5, okay, so the 5 that voted no, Ron Johnson, like you guys say, Mike Lee, Rand Paul said no. Rick Scott and Tommy Tuberville. So these people, so these ones, basically all of these guys, all these senators right here that are with him right here. Dude, the Save America Act is so pernicious. So bad.
And after Senator Cassidy reversed his vote and Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul voted present. Ukraine's intensifying its attacks inside Russia, striking a major natural gas processing plant, one of the largest in the world. In addition, Ukraine struck 2 key satellite communication centers inside Russia. A Ukrainian drone also struck an apartment building in a...
Okay, real quick. The bipartisan package takes significant steps to address America's housing shortage by 1. Increasing housing supply and affordability. The legislation removes regulatory barriers that make it harder and more expensive to build homes, encourages local governments to streamline permitting processes, and expands financing opportunities to spur new construction and bring more affordable housing options to communities. It seems a little broad, to be honest with you. I mean, that seems a little broad. I mean, as we have known and we cover extensively here, the problem with, at least, I mean, I live in California, so I kind of know this one the best, but the problem is that basically the money, it happens at the state level or it happens at the federal level in this instance, but the problem is that the cities have ordinances to basically stop these things. So that's, and the permits take forever, and it's a lot of regulatory hurdles. This is what Abundance is all about. I mean, if you haven't read Abundance, it genuinely is an incredible book about how bureaucracy and governments get in its own way in order to stop building of housing. In California, they go through it. It's an incredible book. 2, restoring fairness to the housing market. The bill includes reforms to limit the ability of large institutional investors to buy significant portions of single-use housing. That's such a good point. Like the idea that you have to compete against BlackRock in order to, when you buy a home, like that doesn't make any sense. Like you should not, an American family shouldn't have to compete against an institutional bank if they're trying to build a home. That come on, man. Like, can we prioritize families instead of investment banks? I mean, that is not hard. Accelerating federal reviews. The legislation modernizes and streamlines federal environmental review processes, which are pretty much nothing, guys. Let's be real. EPA isn't the one that's stopping a lot of new home producing. You know what I mean? Come on. Reducing unnecessarily delays that drive up costs and slow the creation of new homes. Yeah, I mean, guys, the EPA isn't the main gridlock for new home construction. So, yeah, for sure, Ducre. Yeah, for sure should go to it. Okay, here is the Claude. Here's Claude's thing of it. Here's the division. Okay, 12 titles, 50 sections. Here's the major provisions. Boosting supply and cutting construction red tape. This is the core of the bill. It streamlines the NEPA environmental review process for a broad range of federally supported housing activities by expanding categorical exclusions and exempts USDA assistance for infill housing development from federal environmental review requirements. Is that really a thing? It creates a $200 million annual competitive grant program, which is an innovation fund for local governments and tribes that demonstrate measurable increases in housing supply, incentivizing reforms such as streamlined permitting, density bonuses, and zoning changes, sunsetting after 7 years. So that's how it does it. So it's basically saying, hey, if you can figure out ways in order to build these homes faster, we're going to give you money if you do it. So again, this is how we fund science, right? This is how we fund science, is that these grants and these pools of money will be made and people compete against them. So that's what they're doing. It directs HUD to publish guidelines and best practice frameworks for state and local zoning and land use policies, funds pre-reviewed housing designs such as ADUs, duplexes, and townhouses. That's a good idea. I mean, mini homes and all that kind of stuff. And creates a pilot to convert vacant commercial or industrial buildings into affordable housing. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes total sense. I mean, the prefabricated homes should probably have a very similar review process. A notable code change, it directs HUD established guidelines for point access building block buildings and permitting residential buildings with a single internal stairway for up to 6 stories. Wait, what? It directs HUD to establish guidelines for point access block buildings. I don't know what that means. Permitting residential buildings with a single internal stairway for up to 6 story, a single stair reform. Interesting. I don't know what that means. Huh. Institutional investor restriction. The headline political provision. Homes are for people, not corporations. Okay. Good. That's what you're talking about, Ducre. They're not allowed to own directly. They have to. It restricts the purchase of new family single homes by large institutional investors that directly or indirectly own at least 350 single family homes. Critically, it provides exemptions, including for large institutional investors seeking to purchase or build new single family homes specifically for the rental market. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's awful. The build to rent carve out and creates a HUD renter outreach resource for tenants of investor owned homes. So there it is. No, but that means no. They can buy more than 350. They just have to rent them out. Oh, there it is. And guys, that's what, if you don't know, that's what Amazon's doing. You can basically, there's like a house, you can create like rental homes that you can buy into for rental stuff. Rental homes, it's very weird. I forget where, I can't find the home, that website right now. But you basically, it's like a whole idea where you can buy a part. It's like a REIT, REIT, a real estate investment trust for rental programs. So that sucks, dude. So basically they just buy out as many as they can and then rent it to people as opposed to buying it. And then that's probably because that's what they're probably going to do anyway. Right? Oh, that sucks. Okay, here we go. Okay, so manufactured and modular homes eliminates the permanent chassis requirement for manufactured homes, establishes HUD as the primary authority on energy efficient standards, directs a review of FHA financing barriers for modular homes, and reauthorizes price grants for 7 years to fund repair and preservation of existing manufactured homes. Okay. Home ownership, access, and financing creates an FHA pilot program to expand access to mortgages under $100,000. What? Mortgages under $100,000? Bro, I'm sorry guys, but there is no mortgage in the country that is worth under $100,000. What? Directs CFPB studies on why small dollar lending is scarce because homes aren't that cheap. And especially with 4.1% inflation, homes are only getting more expensive. Reforms appraisal licensing and workforce training and adds VA loan disclosures to standard loan applications. What? We looked into like home down payment stuff when we were getting our home, and it was a joke. Like literally the California would help you with a down payment if you made like $50,000 a year or something like that. And it was like, they'll give you 20 grand or something like that. And you're like, nobody that's making like $50,000 a year that lives in California is going to be able to afford a mortgage for a house. Like, and $20,000 like wasn't enough anyway. So it was such a joke. It was just such a joke. Yeah, Eddie, there you go. Yeah, China has $20,000 prefab homes to order. Exactly. This is the problem. This is what I don't understand. Like how are we how are we not just importing a bunch of these tiny homes? Like just get 10,000 or 100,000 of these, $20,000 prefab homes. I mean, it's not like, I mean, guys, like, let's be real. Like right here, like straight up, look at this, $15,000, a tiny home right here. You can get one on Amazon. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. Like, what are we doing? But the problem is that you need to put that somewhere. Yeah, exactly, Sheepadoodle. No plumbing, no electric, no permits, nothing. And they're sheds. But Cosmic, I think that's like, again, it's a steel structure, but I mean, bro, you get 100,000 of those or something, like that could make a big difference for a lot of people, for real. Reform and rental assistance. Okay, lifts the rental assistant demonstration program cap by 100,000 units, reauthorizes the home and rural housing service programs, authorized the CDBFG disaster recovery program for 3 years, and authorizes a new moving to work cohort. It also lets certain blah, blah, blah inspections. Okay, community banking. 9 sections aimed at smaller banks, raises the asset limit for a longer examination cycle from 3 to 6 billion, eases broker deposit rules, allows boards of well-run federal credit unions to meet as few as 6 times a year. What? And supports the formation of new community banks. What? I don't understand that. Is that just to get more competition in the mortgage market? That has to be it. CBDC ban prohibits the Federal Reserve from creating a central bank digital currency through 2030. Whoa! They snuck that in. No way. Dude, that's something that the new Fed Reserve Board chair has been talking about. I thought that he would have done that for sure. The USD coin crypto, the USD crypto for basically. And honestly, like I'm kind of for it. Like the benefits, like for fraud, waste, it actually makes a lot of sense. To be honest with you. So that's actually wild that they snuck that in. I don't get that at all. The Cryptos Bros got Trumps to toss the bill. Well, say that's the thing, Ghostbusters, is we're talking about like $100 billion a year in fraud just from USD because it's such a big thing, Why do you think of them creating a stock for water now with all these data centers popping? Oh, you mean like a REIT, but for water, Ruben? I don't know. I mean, water's not traded on a publicly available thing, So that's, yeah. This was a conservative priority added to win votes. The temporary, not permanent nature was a stated objection of several House no votes, including Ted Cruz, who wanted a permanent ban. What? Really? Wow. That really surprises me. It is now under USWR. Wow, no way. USWR. Oh, interesting. That's wild. Calls on USWR. The catch. Title 12 clarifies that no additional funds are authorized to implement the bill, so the supply of... Wait, what? The Title 12 clarifies that no additional funds are authorized to implement the bill. What? So the supply programs, grants, and pilots are authorized but not independently funded. They depend on future appropriations. This is meaningful limit on a near term. So it's all done. So it's dead in the water. What? What? It's completely dead in the water. It doesn't fund itself. What? What? How could you have a program for all these tiny homes and boosting supply and the grants and all that kind of stuff, but without any money in there? They can't find $200 million? $200 million? They can't find $200 million. So it's good that Trump won't sign this bill? I mean, it makes sense now after reading the bill, guys, that why it's 85-5, right? I mean, holy, that bill is awful. What an awful bill. I can't believe that. Stop the stupidity. A bill to make politicians look like they care and try to do something. Exactly, brother. Exactly, dude. Nobody that's read that bill that like we just did in that type of detail, is for that. 85-5. Yeah, exactly. 85-5. That's wow, dude. Wow. I mean, all the programs are completely unfunded. Everything that is any type of regulations has carve-outs. Hey, Michael, how's it going? He probably will wind up signing it, Sheepadoodle. I agree, he will. I mean, because it's a veto-proof 85-5, right? But like, wow. The bill is dirtier than the bottom of the reflection pool. So much for the Dems having our backs. I mean, bro, it's all Republicans. What do you mean? It's all Republicans. Republicans have to be. I mean, they're the ones that are passing this. They could pass it right now. They could pass this stuff without the Democrats. So, I mean, it definitely isn't the Democrats' fault. Am I trans? Yes, I am trans. Thank you. 85-5 is wild. Wild, man. No wonder. No wonder, guys. Dude, that's why we read. That's why we read, ladies and gentlemen. That's wild, man. I'm so disappointed. Well, no wonder it passed 85-5 because basically the money that they set aside in order to help people buy homes doesn't have any funding. The restrictions on investment banks on home purchases isn't a limitation at all. And basically, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I mean, only the coolest people are gay and trans. So, for sure. That is wild, man. That is absolutely wild.
Russian-held area of the Donetsk region. At least 3 people were killed. Meanwhile, a Russian artillery strike in the Kherson region of Ukraine killed 2 mine disposal experts from the Oslo-based charity Norwegian People's Aid. And in Moscow, the prominent anti-war politician Maxim Kryglov has been sentenced to 7 years in prison. He was convicted of spreading false information about the Russian military for posting messages online about civilian deaths in Ukraine. Krugloff is the deputy leader of the liberal Yabloko party in Russia. The party's former leader, Sergei Matrokhin, condemned the sentence.
Of course. Was Trump ever a used car salesman? Worse, Ruben. Worse. He was a casino owner who somehow went bankrupt. I don't know. It's like selling water in a desert, bro. Like how do you go out of business? It's so wild to me.
The prosecutor and the investigator did not even hesitate to accuse him of disagreeing with the political course of the country's leadership. For that, he was now given 7 years. What can I say? I think this is a return to the darkest times.
A U.S. appeals court cleared the way for the Trump administration to resume the expedited mass deportation of immigrants without a chance to appear before a judge.
Great.
On Tuesday, a 3-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit delivered a split 2-to-1 ruling that overturned a lower court's ruling that fast-track deportations far from the U.S. border likely violate the due process rights of immigrants. Both the judges who sided with the Trump administration are appointees of President Trump. In a dissenting opinion, Circuit Judge Robert Wilkins wrote, quote, "Due process does not wait for a final removal order to be issued before it is owed."
What?
Meanwhile, a federal judge in California has barred Trump administration from making arrests at immigration courts nationwide. The ruling also limits the amount of time people arrested for immigration violations can be jailed.
Let's go.
This follows a ruling by a separate federal judge last month barring arrests at New York courthouses.
Base.
The Pentagon's reversed course and will once again require...
How much does Trump pay them? I know, right? I mean, the idea that you can be literally in the court trying to do what you can. I mean, in order to clear and make sure your immigration is up to snuff, like you're doing everything right and getting deported because of it. I mean, it's such a bad signal. I don't understand how anyone supports it. It really is wild. I think like it's so funny too, is because they've just basically ran out of people that they deported under Obama, right? And there just haven't been enough new people in order for them to deport, and that's why they're so frustrated, right? It's just so frustrated that now they're just going and wrangling people up.
Fire flu vaccines for all recruits. In April, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth made the flu shot optional, citing what he called medical autonomy and religious freedom. However,
imagine citing medical autonomy to a soldier that you're just about to go and put into a wartime scenario where they could lose their life. Like, what kind of medical autonomy to death do they have? Like, what in the world? It's so funny.
The Pentagon reinstated the vaccine mandate after a flu outbreak.
What?
The Pentagon reinstated the vaccine mandate
what?
after a flu.
Oh my! Let's hear it again.
Freedom. However, the Pentagon reinstated the vaccine mandate after a flu outbreak at Lackland Air Base. Sickened nearly 300 people. A source told the Associated Press just 40% of new recruits opted to receive the flu shot after Hegseth made it optional.
Oh my gosh.
The
amazing,
intelligence
guys.
alliance known as Five Eyes is warning that powerful new...
Do I get the flu shot every year? Yeah, bro. You get the COVID and the flu shot every year. That's for sure, man. It's the best way to go. What, dude? I love that they reinstated it. Oh, man. That's so funny. What happened to medical autonomy, dude? What happened to medical autonomy? Wow, it's almost like other people's autonomy and freedom and liberty was impacted by other people not being vaccinated. Oh my gosh. Incredible. Incredible. Wow. Nobody could have seen that coming. Nobody talks about that. Thank you guys. Thank you for the heart music.
Artificial intelligence models are rapidly becoming capable of devastating cyber attacks against governments and businesses.
Dude, this is the mythos thing, the Anthropic mythos. It is wild how I mean, people accuse them of basically being, for the longest time, being just like as a marketing ploy, you know, talking about how dangerous mythos is. But now you kind of see like other, like you see governments and other corporations being like, yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
In a rare joint statement, intelligence officers from the U.S., UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada warned that generative AI models could soon lower barriers for malicious hackers while vastly increasing the speed and complexity of cyber attacks.
It's not Grok. I don't know why it's not Grok, guys. I don't know. Grok, the only thing that people use Grok for, or XAI, is for they had a relationship thing. They have a relationship mode where you can like chat with it to have it be your boyfriend or girlfriend. And it also can make adult videos of anything, which is the fact that it even exists is gross. I have no idea why Elon refuses to put any guardrails on that stuff, but it's very gross.
Attacks. This comes after the Trump administration ordered Anthropic to limit access to its Fable and Mythos AI models after they proved highly adept at exploiting critical software vulnerabilities. According to a report in The Economist, an Anthropic allied AI agent was able to penetrate nearly all classified systems managed by the NSA and U.S. Cyber Command within hours.
Wow.
And in Peru, Keiko Fujimori, daughter of the former dictator Alberto Fujimori, appears poised to become Peru's next president. The far-right Fujimori has a 43,000-vote lead over the leftist lawmaker Roberto Sanchez. Election officials say only 40,000 ballots remain to be counted. On Tuesday, Sanchez said he would not.
Why can so many other nations have women leaders, but the United States can't? It blows my mind. Like, are they really more matriarchal than we are? Do we have like specifically more misogyny in the United States? Like Pakistan has had a woman president. Like, come on. You know what I mean? Like what? Like what? What? I just get so jealous.
Results of the presidential runoff, alleging votes cast by Peruvians outside Peru were processed improperly. Sanchez received more votes than Fujimori inside.
And so has India. Wow. Yeah, I mean, Mexico's culture is very similar to ours. That's not as like, I guess I was like talking about like Pakistan because that's a majority like Muslim nation. So that has more like shock to me, you know, basically. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Jared, I think that, yeah, I mean, I think that we have like some toxic masculinity problems for sure in the United States that are attributing to this patriarchal stuff, you know, for sure.
Peru, but Fujimori won the election because she received 65% of the vote from Peruvians
65.
living outside Peru. Sanchez spoke in Lima Tuesday.
A fraud is underway today before the National Elections Jury. We filed the annulment yesterday precisely to stop this illegality. If the National Elections Jury does not act in accordance with the law, in accordance with transparency, because the transparency we have requested for the vote recount, they do not want to consider it. What are they hiding?
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
Dude, The War on Peace. What a beautiful... Dude, Democracy Now!, guys. Incredible, incredible outfit. I want to hear their... They actually... they interviewed the new House rep out of...
This is Democracy Now!
This is the... This is their new segment on... the DSA candidate that beat the 5-term incumbent in New York, the House rep. So I'm really curious about this interview.
Democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Shock waves have rocked the Democratic Party nationwide as progressives and DSA candidates endorsed by Mayor Zohran Mamdani win big in New York. In a major blow to the Democratic establishment, 3 candidates backed by Mamdani have won primary races in New York City and appear to be headed to Congress. Former
awesome.
New York City Comptroller Brad Lander.
This is Democracy Now! It's an independent news outlet on YouTube.
Beat Congressman Dan Goldman. The 32-year-old Afro-Latina organizer, Daria Elisa Avila Chevalier, pulled off a shocking defeat of 5-term Congressmember Adriano Espaillat, the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus.
That's amazing.
And New York Assembly member Claire Valdez, who's a former union organizer, defeated Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso to fill the seat long held by Nydia Velázquez. Avila Chevalier and Valdez were both backed by the Democratic Socialists of America, which also played a key role in Mamdani's election.
Dang.
DSA-backed New York State Assembly and Senate candidates also swept their races, with 9 out of 10 candidates on the DSA slate winning the primaries. Democracy Now! Was at the DSA watch party for Claire Valdez and others in Brooklyn last night and spoke to progressive streamer Hassan Piker.
Oh, God.
The decade of socialism, it's coming to a neighborhood near you.
Oh, my God. Real voice, guys. Real voice. He doesn't get to do his vocal fry in his... It doesn't do his vocal fry in his streamer voice, like, talking about it. Like, this is his voice when he's streaming. But now he's out here. This is his real voice. This is like, guys, the whole thing, what's so cringe about Hassan is he spends so much of his time talking about these people that he's even talking about, the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA. He calls them fascists because these are liberals, because they don't want violent revolution in the streets. So they're liberals, and he thinks that all liberals are fascists. So, but now, since he's winning elections, and Hassan somehow thinks that he is getting these people to actually win because he's supporting them, even though he does no political organizing whatsoever. He just kind of shows up at the end, at the curtails here, and kind of claims that he is helping these guys win. Now all of a sudden he loves electoralism. Now he loves this idea of electoral politics. Like that's what's so wild to me. You know, it's these guys notoriously say, like, you know, scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds. Hi, Mrs. Dr. G. So the fact that he's taking credit for this, despite doing zero political organizing, despite doing like zero really involvement, and now here he comes. It's very, very wild. Very wild.
Let 1,000 Zorros bloom. This is what I meant. You got Claire Valdez and numerous other wonderful DSA candidates that are outperforming expectations tonight. And that's because the American people are tired of the same old business as usual politics.
The American people, he thinks that these American people, 80% of them are fascists. Like, come on, dude. Like, he thinks that every single Republican, every single Democrat are fascists. like, come on, dude. Like, come on, man. This isn't like he's not serious about like actually having political change. It's just that he's winning these elections and then now he supports them. And as soon as any of these candidates stop winning, then that's in essence that's fascism and the American country is doomed. You know, like, and all these people that are winning right now and his whole theory of change, like he's talking about how Americans want this stuff and Americans are all, you know, keyed into what he's talking about. Like when California, you know, unfortunately with Steyer, didn't put Steyer in there, he was calling Californians fascists. And you're like, bro, like 1 in 8 Americans are fascists now. Like, come on, dude. Like, come on. It's just, he's just not serious, man. He's just not serious. He needs to do way better.
The corruption, the ineptitude, the feckless nature of the Democrats that don't want to fight back against the growth of fascism in this country. This is Americans fighting back. It's only the beginning.
Claire Valdez addressed her supporters at the end of the night.
My name is Claire Valdez, and I am proud to say that I will be your next Congress member. We haven't just won an election. We have declared that this movement is durable.
Politicians are mostly BS on both sides. No, Eddie, I don't think that's right at all. You know, I think that enlightened centrism is super cancerous. Like it just doesn't. I'm sorry, but that just doesn't make any sense, dude. Like, especially when one is openly fascists. Like it's very simple and easy to see like which, you know, both sides are not equal here.
That it is growing and that it will not stop until working people are no longer asked to just build the table, no longer just offered a seat at the table, but will run the table.
Like these people are actually doing community organizing. These people are actually doing the work that, you know, to community build, to, you know, unionize and organize like their workplaces. Like these people are actually doing the work, you know, that's what we need. That's a good thing.
And make no mistake, this victory is not mine, it is ours. That's what organizing is. It's being asked to do something big, scary, unfamiliar, something that everything inside you says is not for you. It can't be you. But then you take the plunge, you find your power and solidarity. And let's talk about what that ask has now won. I will lead the fight against ICE's cruelty and stand steadfast alongside our immigrant neighbors. They've been demonized, targeted, attacked, and in me they will have a champion. I will stand steadfast alongside our trans siblings who are the beating heart in this community. I will continue to call for Palestinian liberation. We will stand up to the genocide. We will refuse to abide by apartheid, and we will use our money to improve lives here instead of destroy them abroad. And I will do everything in my power every single day in Congress to give the labor movement the tools it needs to be a fighting force for the entire working class.
Clara Valdez, Democratic nominee.
I think that she's, I don't know what her history is. Let's see. Claire Valdez wiki. Bachelor's fine art in Chicago. Worked a bunch of service jobs, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, Trader Joe's. I respect that. New York City to pursue art. Early career, graduated from college. Program assistant, visual arts department, Columbia University. While at Columbia, she became an active member of her union, and she was the unit chair. I mean, this is someone that actually has done like community organizing, though. I mean, some like Spencer Pratt done none of this. He's a reality television star who's trying to play a normal person on TV, as opposed to her, who's like actually done normal people work, right? Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, Trader Joe's. Like I absolutely respect that. In 2019, Valdez joined the New York City chapter of the DSA and went on to serve as the new member coordinator. So she was an organizer there. She worked on many of the chapter's electoral projects, including Salazar's 2020 re-election and Olisar's 2022 campaign for New York State Assembly. Let's see. 2023. She became the New York State Assembly. So she's done electoral politics. How is this not no background? What do you mean? How is this no background? This is tons of background in organizing. She got elected as the New York State Assembly. Like, what are you talking about? The question lies, how was she so popular? Well, she wasn't. She probably started off really low out in the polls when she first started, and then she gained popularity because she's, worked hard. She campaigned. I don't think that she's super popular. I think that she's definitely gotten some name recognition and stuff because of it being, Mamdani and stuff. But, the DSA, dude, I mean, like how do you become so popular is because you create friends in the organizing space, like that, people by organizing with them. That's how you become popular in normal politics, I think that totally makes sense.
For Congress from Brooklyn and
I bet Ilhan Omar and AOC are like, damn, they're the left of us. I don't think so. I mean, Bill, I think that we want pragmatic people in our government. I don't think that there is I think at the end of the day, you need people that have optimism and that have that fire, but then also that have that pragmatism. And AOC is become more pragmatic as she's been working with the government, right? But I think that that's a good thing. It's a good thing to have AOC with some wisdom, right? And I want to see AOC become the next Nancy Pelosi and try to influence Democratic politics for the next 30 or 40 years. That's what I would love to envision AOC as being. I think that we need to think bigger than president, right? That we get so focused on that as if the president is some kingmaker. In reality, Nancy Pelosi has had more influence on American politics for longer than Barack Obama did. That's just the truth, so we have to live with that, and that, maybe a progressive like AOC that's more pragmatic, the best spot for her right now in her career probably isn't president. And AOC has that in her. Yeah, I mean, she has that fire still, and I still think that AOC has that. I don't think it goes away. Bernie Sanders was making Eugene Debs documentaries back, in his 30s. I don't think that goes away. That still stays inside of you, right? Who you are. It's just that the pragmatism of the moment, you need new answers. And I think that people on the left do a disservice to themselves trying to live up to the standard of this hypothetical Lenin or Marx figure when like think about it, dude. Why would you ever call yourself a Marxist? That's cringe, dude. If anyone ever called themselves like a Gregist, I would be like, you're cringe, dude. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, we need to take deconstruct your politics so that it is not a full ideology, and take each thing individually. Try to understand each segment individually and try to put them together, as opposed to seeing politics as a package deal. It's not. You can absolutely understand things, and understand how things get together like a jigsaw. And sometimes you need to be pragmatic on some things and idealistic on others. I think that it's really important. But this dogmatic view of politics, where dogmatism, where you can't question anything and there's no nuance and it's black and white on everything, I don't think that works out fairly well. I don't think that makes progress, and that's the problem that I see.
Queens. Tuesday's biggest upset was the victory of 32-year-old Afro-Latina Muslim organizer.
What a sentence. She is a great candidate. Next, we just need a good rep for Speaker of the House in 2027 and 2028, because Jeffries is not it. Yeah, I agree. No, we need a new House. We need a new House majority, and I think that again, McConnell has had more impact in American politics for longer than Obama. Think about that, guys. I don't say that lightly. We as Democrats, we focus too much on the presidency, I think. 30-year-old Bernie was the same as current Bernie. I just wish he'd be running for president sooner. I hear you, man. I hear you. I love Bernie. Bernie's brave and took a lot of solo votes, a lot of time that he was on the floor by himself, advocating for issues when nobody else was. The question is who's the next Bernie Sanders? If these ideological thought leaders, who is the next Marx? I was asking my my sociology professor friend this, who is the next one? Who's the next? Who's incorporating the latest in philosophy and applying them right now? And that's the next level question that, I genuinely do think that this whole Read Theory crowd is very short-sighted, because the context of leftist theory isn't applicable to the world that we live in right now. It just isn't. It just isn't. These people were living in completely different times with completely different technologies, completely different understandings of how the world works. So it really behooves all of us to really recontextualize politics and try to not carry around this baggage of previous generations. We can look at their struggle, right? We can look at their struggle and learn from it and better it. But the idea of I'm going to take one guy's ideology and I'm going to try to uphold it and be whatever I think Lenin would do in this scenario. What? Nobody should be doing that, bro. Nobody. Philly in Twitch chat. What's up, man? One thing I was super glad to see was Bernie embracing and campaigning with AOCs, kind of passing the torch to her. Exactly, Philly. That's the biggest thing for me is that, the older Democrats need to be coaching up and bringing in more people, more younger people. Mamdani needs to be coaching other Democrats on how to use social media. Obama needs to be coaching other Democrats on how to community build and coalition building. Biden needs to be coaching other Democrats on how to pass legislation and actually get it going. So you have to keep going. There's groups of Marxist Leninists on TikTok. They're so toxic. I think, yeah, I mean, it does feel that way. Yeah, there definitely is like an in-group, out-group feeling for a lot of MLs. And I think that it comes from a lot of insecurity where having no political power means that you kind of use your political your own personal power however you can, and gatekeeping is one way that people do that. But at the same time, like my frustration with Hassan's approach is that you can't build class consciousness with Democrats if you're calling them fascists. Like that's not a good introductory. You can't go to a Democrat that is just like waking up to this idea of like class, a class, and that's feeling rightly so. Like, man, really seems like, Elon Musk has a lot of power that I don't have. How is that? And you can't go to that mom that likes MSNBC. You can't go and tell her, be like, you're actually a fascist. You're just as bad as the Republicans. Actually, you're worse than MAGA. Actually, and it would have been worse if Harris won, because actually that means that it pushes the can down the road and it creates a stronger fascist party that then makes a stronger pushback. So it's actually better if Trump wins right now. So then the society collapses, and then from the rubble comes the communist revolution that we all envisioned. Like, that's not good, bro. That nobody's going to think that that's true. That doesn't make any sense to anybody. Accelerationism is cringe. It's cringe. Doesn't make any sense. Twitch has a lot of communists. Yeah, I mean, look, guys, I think having diversity of opinion is a good thing, right? I do think that having competition of thought is good, right? I have my own problems with, but it's like an intellectual academic battle that I think that we should have. But at the same time, I razz Hassan, hopefully in the future, he does start becoming more involved with community organizing. Maybe this is the turn. Maybe he sees that, electoralism isn't fruitless, and he actually sees that you can actually change things through democratic means, and he starts becoming, less authoritarian and more democratic in how his approach is. I mean, that would be a good thing. That would be a good thing. I would accept that and welcome that. I wouldn't say no. I didn't see that comment, Diane. It feels like you have to be very brave in these times to speak out. It matters, Hummingbird. I think it matters. There's safe and bad things. I mean, the best thing that you can do right now is be on the Trump terrorist list of leftist influencers, right? I mean, that'd be amazing. Hassan is actual radical in some ways, but his fan club is so loud and obnoxious, he's not always perceived for exactly what he is. Yeah, Philly. I mean, bro, Hassan has said some diabolically bad things, that's so offensive that it's it's hard to even repeat. But yeah, I mean, it's yeah. I don't want to go into Hassan clip farming and talking about it, but it is it's extremely frustrating for people on the left to be so toxic. It doesn't make us look any, and there's a reason why Mamdani isn't seen with Hassan and threw him under the bus during the debate. It's there's, you have to there is some aura of professionality, right? And it sucks. There is some decorum politics involved with it, I think that it all comes together. It really does. I don't think being and it's tough because like I'm managing this with myself, right? With like this whole idea of being a science communicator, but not being a punching bag and trying to push back against anti-vaxxers. And at the same time, I see someone like Hassan and I'm like, I don't want to be seen as toxic so that people don't want to have me on their program, you know, but I do want to fight back. That is the problem. That is the real problem. He's still stuck in his frat boy phase. Philly, it feels like, honestly, it feels like Hassan is cosplaying my life, bro. It is actually wild. He cosplays like he is like born and lived his entire life in Southern California with the vocal fry, with the deep voice, it feels like he's, with how he dresses, like it's really weird. And now he's walking around with like $10,000 suits on, with $2,000 glasses on, and you're like, what? He doesn't mumble. He vocal fries. It talks like a bunch of vocal fries, and he really like talks like on the bottom of his fry, like we're all, you know, all that kind of stuff. And the suits he's wearing, just in case someone clips him. Yeah, I mean, he started wearing suits recently. I think it's definitely a Mamdani thing, and I think it's good. I think that it's better. It's better to look dressed up than dressed down, right? I think that absolutely, that's definitely a better thing. I think that men's dress specifically is grotesque. Most, oh, thank you, Alan. Thank you. I think like men's dress specifically with all the like sweatpants and stuff is pretty gross. You know, I'm not okay with that. I think that it's pretty bad. So, you know, I'm okay, and especially because like Zuckerberg and stuff kind of has this disheveled look. Somehow everyone thinks that it's okay. So it's not. I think there's some room for a little toxic pushback against the grifters who literally profit off of harming others. Yeah, Jared, I think so too. I think like absolutely the grifters that are creating the disinformation, like we have to push back against that. Absolutely. You know, I think that is the problem. I just don't know if like Hassan is that level yet. That's the thing. I don't think that he, I mean, he has said specifically that he uses democratic politics as a way in order to get people radicalized to become Marxist-Leninists. So he has said he is literally using them as useful idiots to make more Marxist-Leninists. So, you know, look, I think that it'd be better if the United States was more in line with the class struggle and understood that that era of politics and understood like unions, and I think that that's important. But the problem is that Hassan brings a lot more than just that, and people water down his views a lot and just say like, oh, well, you know, Hassan is just like, you know, advocating for healthcare and education. And it's like, well, he's not though. When he's calling like basically he's saying everyone in chat right now, like Hassan basically thinks that every single one of you guys are fascists and are just as bad as MAGA. Like that he genuinely does believe that. I've had so many conversations with Marxist-Leninists for like over 6 years on the internet talking about this, and it's like that's what's so frustrating. It's like he is that's so toxic That is so toxic to be telling people in the Democratic Party that they are just as bad as MAGA. Because they're just not, guys. They're just like the Democratic Party just isn't fascist. It just isn't. So to tell people that they are is very, very not good. Very not good. I believe billionaires becomes a psychosis or borderline psychotic due to the disconnect from humans. Yeah, I think so too. I think that there's actually been things that have actually been shown to say that CEOs are more psychotic than most. It's like psychopathy is like 4% in CEOs and only 1% in the population. So, Bill, the politicians like Manchin and Sinema were kind of fash, but that's not it. I don't think that they were fash as much as they were ambivalent and enlightened centrist. You know, I mean, Manchin still voted with Biden in a lot of issues, guys. Even Sinema, like they still voted in line with Biden for all these bills. So, you know, there were specific bills that people highlight, and obviously, like, we wish that they would have gone the other way for sure. But I don't think that they are like fascist adjacent or enabling. You know, I think that they were just too. They kind of tried to pump the brakes at the wrong time. You know. Corporate captured, possibly. I mean, they were definitely getting payouts, you know, when they were supposed to be, you know, they were supposed to be regulating the industries that they were getting paid out from. So I definitely think that you could definitely make that the argument for sure, Bill, for sure. Especially with oil companies. So very pernicious.
Upset was the victory of 32-year-old Afro-Latina Muslim organizer Daria Elisa Vila Chevalier, who defeated 5-term Congressmember Adriano Espaillat, chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Mayor Mamdani addressed a roaring crowd of supporters at her watch party in Harlem last night.
That's awesome.
This campaign began many months ago at the same park that we launched the canvas in today. And at that time, I know that for many it may have...
I'm not familiar with this one, but anti-vax doctors like Pierre, Kory, yeah, exactly. Fake cures and false hopes, those are truly the worst. Yeah, exactly. They're creating, like, Hassan creates propaganda. Like, Pierre, Kory creates disinformation that actively gets people to lose their life. You know, say like that is a tangible like difference. I don't know if like I think Hassan, he's an imperfect ally. You know, I think that like I think he's an imperfect ally. He's not like the worst part. He's not on the other side. He's not MAGA. You know what I mean? I am a libertarian socialist. He is an authoritarian socialist, right? Or he's a Marxist-Leninist. So it's like, you know, I'm anti-authoritarian. He's pro-authoritarian, but at the same time, we want like an egalitarian society, right? Hassan and I. MAGA is on the completely wrong, the other side of this, where they are pro-authoritarian, pro-right-wing. So it's completely separate. You know, Hassan and I are just on different sides of the same coin. MAGA is on a completely different bill. They're not even on the same coin, you know.
It felt like a fantasy.
Mamdani is the future of the Democratic Party, not Hassan. You know what I mean? People like Mamdani who understand that democracy is a tool that we have to use in order to make progress. Like any type of violent revolutionary is never going to be the future of the United States. It just won't be. we're too big. There's too many people. There's no possible way. Then there's no possible way. You wouldn't want that to happen either. Like, even if it could happen, you wouldn't want that to happen, because the fabrics of society crumbling, all you would be doing would be allowing people with more capital, more power to do more bad things without government. And you don't want that. Nobody wants that.
That Daria Lisa would be here right now.
Hey.
But it was never a fantasy for her, and it was never a fantasy for all of you. You have willed that dream into a reality. And I was asked time and again, why would I support this campaign?
That's a good point. That's a good point, guys. I say this all the time. Like, it is so important as a political revolutionary faction, which I think that we do need a political revolution. I absolutely do. Like, the wins are so important. It is so important. So the idea of Mamdani coming through and putting his weight behind these people, and the DSA coming in with these wins, like, it's genuinely a big thing. Exactly, it's building momentum. Exactly, Bill. Very important. You guys should read, if you haven't already, Rules for Radicals. It's called by Saul Alinsky. It's an incredible book about radical community organizing in the 60s and 70s. It goes through all of this stuff. It is definitely worth reading. Audiobook it on your drives, like, listen to it. It's really, really important to think about how, and it's not outdated. You know, you read, like, the Communist Manifesto, and you're like, what does this even mean? What is he even alluding to? But Saul Alinsky is actually talking about, like, modern society, and it actually is applicable. He's talking about community action, and, like, one of the ways that they gummed up the unions for the airline traffic controllers or something like that, or the baggage handlers. Like, what did they do in order to disrupt that, so that the unions actually got their day? They actually got the company to sit at the bargaining table. Was that they took people into the airports. This is back when you could just walk in without a ticket into anywhere in the airport, but they walked in to the bathrooms right by the busiest terminals, and they just locked themselves into the bathrooms. So then, as people came off the airplanes, they didn't have anywhere to go. And every single bathroom in the terminal, in the busiest terminal, was busy, they blocked them. So you just had, it was bedlam. Because you had all these people that were yelling and screaming because they couldn't go to the bathroom. They came off of a big flight. So it's like stuff like that, dude. Stuff like that where you're just like, dang, it's brilliant. You don't need, like, violence is for a sucker's game. It's a sucker's game. You're never going to, we're talking about a government that has drones, that has weapons of war. Like, you're never going to be able to outdo them ever. So it's a sucker's game, guys. Like, you need to think outside the box in order to have an effective political revolution. That's what we need. So stuff like that, it's like it's incredible. So it's a great book. It's a really, really good book. So anyway, my point is Zohran is the future of the Democratic Party. I really do. I think that it's a big day in terms of, like, actually organizing people, actually getting the Democratic Party to be more aligned with, like, the needs of people in the United States and fighting for them.
And I said then that I can think of no better person than the daughter of a single mother caseworker. Who has fought for working people her entire life. Who has stood up for New Yorkers unjustly detained by ICE. Who has called for a foreign policy of investing in babies and not bombs.
Incredible.
I can think of no one better than someone of clarity, of conscience, and of conviction to be the next congressperson.
Dude.
And it is because you pour...
Guys, I mean, let's put in context what's happening here. Okay? Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of a city, is going and influencing federal politics by pushing his preferred candidates to the House of Representatives. Hi, Stop the Stupidity. How's it going? And like, incredible. Like, what an incredible testament to him as a community organizer to push people forward, to get like to impact. He's basically using himself as a stepping stone, right? He's using himself as a stepping stone to get people higher than he is. He is not a national politician, but he's using the New York City mayor's office as a launching pad to help politicians go nationwide. Oh, thank you. Stop the Stupidity. Bro, 5 more gifted subs. Bro, dude. Thank you, man. Thank you. Stop the Stupidity. You're incredible. Thank you so much, bro. And like, that is incredible. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Like, when I'm saying like why Obama missed the mark, right? Like we needed Obama to use his leverage as president to impact things outside of DC, right? Just as Mamdani is using his leverage as the New York City mayors to impact outside of New York City, right? That is the only way that you make change in a country. This is exactly what Bernie talks about when he's talking about the millions of people all around the country coming together. You know, when people all across the country in all these different walks of life, all these different positions, all come together to make change, then it's possible. And that's what Mamdani is doing by creating this web of networks, this web of influence that's bigger than him. We need politicians. We need people like Mamdani in the Democratic Party. Exactly, Stop the Stupidity. This is exactly what we need right now. Exactly, brother. Exactly. I'm assuming your gender. I apologize. But you know what I mean? Like, it is, yeah. I mean, it's so true. Like, Mamdani is the future of the Democratic Party, not just for his politics, but just for how he's approaching politics. It's so important.
Poured your hearts into this, because you poured your hopes into this, that we are showing there is a new path for politics in our city and in our country.
Yep. True.
We are showing that last June, a year ago tomorrow, was not an anomaly.
Oh, thank you, Marshmallow. Thank you.
It was not the end. It was the beginning.
So true.
Join me in welcoming. And I want a fellow member of New York City DSA, an Afro-Latina woman.
Dude, and this really, and I said this when Mamdani was elected. The number one thing that needs to happen, all the power of the DSA needs to go into Mamdani. Needs to go into Mamdani. Because what he's doing in New York is so important for the future of the DSA. Like, he is the future of the DSA. What he is doing is the future, right? And like, it is so critically important. And now, like, with this, you know, it's really going to be a testament now. Will Mamdani and will the DSA actually impact and spiral outside of New York City? So obviously New York City and Mamdani is connected to this thing, but like, will their sphere of influence actually come to be fruition, right? And I think that's what we have yet to see, right? We have yet to see it actually impact outside of New York, but how and where it goes, who knows? You know, that's the next big test.
The first Dominican woman to represent this district. And the next Congresswoman from New York 13.
I'm not going to be saying that.
Daria Villa Chevalier then took to the stage and addressed her supporters
it's amazing.
in Harlem.
I am so excited to get to work and to bring all of you with me to Washington.
It's incredible.
The fight that we have been fighting at the federal level. Because over a year ago, well over a year ago, the odds were stacked against another young Muslim socialist.
Wow, 1%.
In New York City. And so I'll tell you honestly, I'm not concerned about that.
For more, we're joined now by the Democratic nominee for Congress in New York's 13th Congressional District, Daria Avila Chevalier. She defeated five-term Congressmember Adriano Espaillat. Welcome to Democracy Now! If you could start off by introducing yourself to the country.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for having me. I am a longtime listener, so it's such an honor to be here. My first interview after winning here at Democracy Now!
Cool.
I am an Afro-Latina Dominican daughter of immigrants. I am an organizer. I have been organizing my entire adult life around immigration justice, around ending mass incarceration, around Palestine. And it is such an honor to be able to have the privilege of having run a campaign that is centering working people in this district who have for far too long just been ignored by establishment politics. And I'm so deeply grateful to be here. It is such a surreal experience, and truly so excited to get to work and bring the values of working class people of color here in Harlem and Washington Heights and Inwood in the Bronx into the halls of Congress.
And talk about what you think are the most important issues that you've represented, and what did it mean to you to upset, to beat this five-term Congress member, head of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Adriano Espaillat?
Wow.
You know, I am somebody who has had to think about whether I can afford to stay in the city that I love. This is the second poorest congressional district in the state, and by some measures the country, and to know that we centered the needs of this community at the heart of this campaign, where we are fighting for housing for all, to make sure that we abolish ICE and to have our tax dollars come back home to invest in our babies here and not in bombs abroad, was truly, truly at the heart of everything that our community really needs. We have another statistic that shocks my mind every single time is the fact that 40% of our children here are living in childhood poverty. And for us to tackle that issue, to give our babies all the things that they need to lead dignified childhoods, would mean that we would be able to provide for every single person in this community. And, we have had representation in the past over the last 9 years that has really not met those needs, where these crises have just grown. And it has been such an honor to work with a coalition with so many organizers on the ground to build a grassroots movement that is responsive to working people here, that gets to the issues. And, this campaign was a lot of work. It was something that was built from the very ground up.
It's beautiful.
And in the last few weeks, it was really a difficult one because we had so much money and so many smears thrown our way. We had over $7 million in outside spending that was being spent to smear me personally and to use incredibly racist and anti-Black rhetoric. And to know that Black residents in this district came out and supported this campaign in that context, in a context where Voting Rights Act is being gutted, where the rights of so many are under attack.
Exactly. I mean, this is like serious federal overreach into these states, into these cities. The Trump administration is basically admonishing and trying to deconstruct federalism, right? He's basically at war with democratic cities. So to have like strong federal government overreach in these House representatives to cast these votes is a huge thing. It really is. And I mean, look at Fetterman. Fetterman is the exception, not the rule. But it's to see him he votes that it's okay that the Iran war keeps going. It's like, what, man? What is going on?
To know that they came out despite the odds and chose these values really means the world to me.
If you can talk about the attacks on you by the Espaillat camp around your background, questioning your Dominican heritage. Of course, the Dominican Republic shares an island with Haiti. And talk about, as if to be Haitian is an epithet, but what they were saying, this anti-Haitian rhetoric.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bombardment where
states don't enforce federal immigration laws, so that means federal law enforcement has to by law. But they are working together. Like they do, so that they can do that without the federal government going door to door. So the idea that they have to be extremely heavy-handed and have tanks down the streets in order to enforce those laws is completely sacrosanct to the Constitution. It doesn't make any sense.
Every time I opened any of our social media accounts, I was inundated with rhetoric that was using the term Haitian as though it were a slur. I was inundated with emojis of monkey and gorilla emojis, of rat emojis, of folks asking me and my family.
Some are, but many are not. That's why they have to go to door to door. No, they don't. No. Yeah, that's just false. So, yeah, people have like constitutional rights, and that's just yeah. I'm sorry, but just because the federal government fears something doesn't mean it removes people's constitutional rights. Questioning the heritage of a black woman. Where have I seen this before? Yeah, exactly, Jared. I know exactly. It is the exact same playbook of like misogyny, xenophobia, constant.
Family for proof of our birth certificate and where we were born. And, I just think it was really one of the ugliest types of rhetoric that I have seen in a really long time. It really reminded me of MAGA style politics. And it was just so shocking to see that coming in a heavily blue district and in a district where the sitting incumbent was a Democrat. And I'm just so honored to have been able to fight against that with my team, with my coalition, and to know.
Then how should they enforce federal law? It's not fear, it's the law. If you think that the federal government has to enforce the law by going door to door and arresting people that are going to legal court proceedings, then you need to go check out this thing. It's a new release. It's called the U.S. Constitution. You should check it out. It has some pretty cool things. Marsha, thank you so much. Thank you for the great stream, putting one on the board for you. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you for that. I'm sorry, but the idea of this fake fear of from the federal government and it's just because of Trump. Let's be real. Sacred is profane. All you're doing is that you are running cover for Trump that just wants to mess with democratic cities and mess with the areas where a bunch of Democrats live. And then you are posthumously, after the fact, creating this through line for him and trying to excuse this insane behavior. If we did the exact same thing, the Democratic president did the exact same thing and went door to door at Nashville, and every single person that has sped over the speed limit is technically breaking the law. And if anyone has a weapon in those homes that they broke the law in, then they're technically breaking the law within harboring an illegal weapon. So what we should do is we should go and take all of their guns by force. That's what you're basically allowing in the purview of your argument. So it's just insanity. It creates a world where there just is no law except for whatever the president of the United States decides at any given moment. And and I know that you're already typing Sacred. I already know you're typing that this is insanity. Sotomayor, in the decision about district court judges regulating the president of the United States, they talk about this. Sotomayor talks about this in her dissent and says that because of this decision, you would basically allow, and this decision would allow that exact scenario, that if the president of the United States deemed the Second Amendment not legal, every single firearm in the country would therefore be illegal, and they would have the jurisprudence in order to collect all the illegal firearms. Like she talks about this. A Supreme Court justice talks about that now. So it isn't just some fever dream that I'm having. It's very true.
That voters here in this district rejected that, to know that we have turned a page on the politics of the past and a politics that is, in so many ways so divisive, and a politics of just cynicism. To be able to turn the page on that and to bring forward a politics of hope, to center a message that is about a politics of life, has really been such an honor, and also showing that this is a politic that is popular and that will win, that Americans are tired of this politics of death, the politics of cynicism, and want to make sure that our resources are coming back to our communities and investing in the life and the needs of the people here.
If you can talk about
literally, if I was her, I would literally steal America first. Just say America first. Use the same language. You know what I mean? Re-champion the language that the Trump administration used.
Experience. You're a Columbia alum. You protested the encampments you were a part of, and you actually taught on the West Bank. Talk about your experience as a student there and how that influenced your positions on Palestine and Israel.
Yeah, I went to undergrad at Columbia University, and while I was a student there, I went to the West Bank, and it deeply formed a lot of my understanding of global politics, but even my own context here in New York, where I started to see and understand that the systems that were oppressing Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza, all over Palestine, were also informing our systems here that were having such a deep, harmful impact on so many Black and Latino and communities of color here. And as you grow as an organizer, as a person, as you become more educated on these systems, you start to notice that they're not just similar systems, they are the same system. They are systems that consistently put profit over people, that consistently deny people their human dignity for the sake of capital. And to know that we sent a very loud and clear message yesterday that we will not allow that to continue to be the case, that we will put people first and we will put working people at the heart of our democracy, it felt really full circle. To know that we can say Free Palestine at our party, to know that we can say what is happening in Gaza is a genocide and win, and reject the politics of AIPAC, reject the politics of big money and corporations coming into our politics. It is truly, I think, a seismic shift that is happening in our politics.
Attendees at your victory party last night included the Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia University graduate student organizer who was detained 4 months last year in an ICE jail in Louisiana.
Dang.
Today's win is a big win for New York, is a big win for the working class community in this country. To have someone like Daria Lisa actually representing them in D.C., representing the struggles, the daily struggles that this community goes through, rather than politicians who are only cashing money for the sake of gaining power and control. I've known Daria Lisa since my first days at Columbia, and she's been always very supportive, even in my absence when I was in detention. She was there for me, she was there for my family, she was there for my community, going in the streets and just like supporting in whatever capacity she has. So now I have no doubt that she will continue to do the same in DC.
Wow, he missed the birth of his child because of ICE detention. That's awful. She's talking about neo-Marxism critical theory. I mean, yeah, she's talking about how the influence of capital influences our society. I mean, do you really not think that like money gets more power in our society? And you don't think that we should be able to study that, of how like the power of capital can create rippling effects? I mean, like, you don't, like, we can't talk about that. Makes sense to me that you should be able to at least talk and because it does seem that more capital does really seem to give you more power in our society. Like it just does seem that Elon Musk has more power than I do to influence American politics. You know, I mean, that's just, and the fact that he has money that can make money and have that is inherently a problem, right? He missed the birth of his first child. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. For writing an op-ed, that's crazy. Yeah. Of course it does, as it does in any society, and of course we can. Marx clearly said communism is, okay, dependent upon capitalism. Well, no, he said it's dependent on capitalism and that capitalism will fall. That was what he said, that it's dependent on capitalism in that it's capitalism won't be able to sustain itself and it'll implode, which he was obviously wrong about. So, I mean, he was wrong in that aspect. I think that like there's so many booms and busts in capitalism that it's wild that we allow it. I mean, it is weird that we incentivize a financial model and an economic model that puts greed and gluttony so high on the priority list. It's unfathomable to me, actually, because like we do have those tendencies as humans, but are they the best of human instinct? Are they the best possible way that we can go forward? Like, no, I would definitely say that they're toxic. So why would we incentivize them in our model, our economic model, right? So like we can have markets without capitalism. We can have competition without capitalism. You know, it's just that the idea of Elon Musk being completely unfettered, completely unchecked, with paying no taxes. And I mean, all of us in chat pay more of a percentage tax than Elon Musk pays. It's just true. Every single one of us in chat pays more of a percentage of our income to taxes than he does. That's just what it is. He grossly underestimated capitalism's ability to shift and create new markets. Yeah. And the exploitation of people, for sure. How can you have markets without capitalism? What is the balancing economic calculation without price? Markets existed before like capitalism was invented. You have markets with chimpanzees that they have basic like markets for like bartering in goods that they trade like amongst themselves. So, you know, capitalism is an abstraction of private property and an economic model, but that doesn't. You can absolutely have that. But I mean, but what is the economic calculation without price? I mean, it's just whether or not the market determines the price, or like there is like central command, right? A controlled economy has the government determine the price, versus a market-driven solution would still have the market. So yeah, you can do it with price. You can have like market socialism. It exists. Yeah. You don't have like, just because you get rid of capitalism doesn't mean that you would get rid of like prices. You know, you would still have money.
Can you talk about your organizing around Mahmoud Khalil's?
Yeah, the governing determining. Yeah, nobody. I would. Central command and command economies are only one way of having like an economic model. It doesn't. It's not every single time, every single way. You know, that's just socialism. Socialism is the democratic ownership of the workplace, right? Of the means of production. So again, socialism, it does not mean that government determines the price. Governments determining the price is called a command economy. And you don't necessarily need that. So that again, you can have the markets deciding while also having our workplaces owned by the people that work there.
Detention, being held for months, and what he symbolized to you, Daria-Lisa Avila Chevalier.
You know, Mahmoud is a friend, but
The question is, how do you do it? Okay, do you have the workplaces, a majority owned by the workplaces, and you don't have a government? You have the workplaces, a majority owned by the workers, and you have markets instead of a command economy. I mean, it's pretty simple.
I would have fought for him even if he weren't, because I have been fighting for immigration justice my entire adult life. It is something that is deeply important to me. And when I first got the news of his detention, you know, there was the initial shock of it all, but there was a moment also where my organizer brain just kicked in and I just kind of went into.
Critical theory paints capitalism as something that's bad. It's just private ownership versus state owns means of production. No, no, again, critical theory. Okay, critical theory is the sociological term for how one thing impacts the other. So this is like the term that is coined by Marx is dialectical materialism, where how one thing impacts the other thing and how these things are interconnected. So that's like, for example, like racism and institutional racism. That is critical race theory, right? Where you're looking at two things and the dialectic of how these things go back and forth. So that is why, like, Marxism as a philosopher created this way of studying how things are responding to one another. So that's why, like, the Frankfurt School in sociology, like, creates these ways of studying how things interplay. So that's why it's like a scientific endeavor. That's what sociology is. And again, you can have like private ownership versus state-owned means of production is completely different than that. Okay, well, tell me how capital money at least is kind of a proof that someone created value. Political power is just convincing people that you are right. It doesn't require providing value to others. Political power is convincing someone that you are right. It doesn't require providing value to others. Okay, Kraken, I don't understand what you're talking about. Denmark has free market capitalist economies with a robust democratic socialist, well, sort of Nordic model. Linda, but the problem is, like, true. True. I mean, the problem is, like, Linda, I think that, yeah, I agree with your sentiment is. When you separate the mechanism markets from the ownership structure capitalism, you get several economic models that use markets without being capitalist. Yes, yeah, exactly. Exactly, Jared. Yeah. Like you basically create, like, private ownership is inherent with capitalism, right? It's private ownership of the means of production, right? The profits that are created on that are private. Versus democratic, right? And then how those profits are traded either on a market or given a price by the state. I'm saying Marxism is asking for power and asking to give it to people just on their opinion. Why dismiss the value of prices and capital that show creation in the world? Why replace them? Why dismiss the value of price? Why should I trust you over someone that can make something I want to buy? No, Marxism is not asking just to give you two on their opinion. Again, you could have look for what a bid ask spread is, Cracky. Like you can have how a market works. You'd still have a bid and an ask. So, like, you could have a market without you can have a market. You can have But this is the problem that I have with, like, command economies, is that, like, how would you know? How would the government know the fair price of all goods and services at any given time? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me personally. I think maybe with AI you could have some type of you could have some type of model, but I wouldn't trust that AI model more than I would trust a bid or an ask, because, like, inherently a market is actually a pretty good democratic way of understanding the price for something, because, like, the ability for me to buy a share of NVIDIA at $50 right now is only determined by the amount of people that will sell me a piece of NVIDIA for $50 right now. Well, it's at $200 really. So nobody's going to do that. But you could sit there and say, hey, give me $50 for it. And it's like, well, nobody's going to say that. Nobody's going to do that. Well, I agree with you, and I don't see a solution to that problem without favoring markets first and foremost. I agree, Cracky. I that's why I think I prefer market solutions. That's the inherent problem. And like, think of the corruption of a command economy. It's just it's unfathomable. Denmark has the highest percentage of millionaires. They also spend less than any other on healthcare per person. They also limit the CEO to only making 13 times the lowest paid employee. That's a good one. I also like what Germany does is that they, after a certain threshold, like you have to have a certain percentage of the board being workers on there too. So I think that would be like a really interesting way. Like, you know, as you scale up, you need to have more and more of the board being actually workers on there. So I think that that's an interesting idea. Private is that they're not owned by the state. Private citizens own the means of production. We also have public COS, where anyone can buy it and assume risk and be a part owner. Okay. Like, uh-huh. I don't understand what you're saying.
Autopilot, where I just started writing to make sure that we were spreading the word about his case and taking control of the narrative as someone who knew him in that time, and making sure that we were really putting together movement work that could bring attention to his case. And I was already organizing with fellow organizers around civil disobediences, around direct actions, to bring more attention to his case, about court support, to make sure that we were showing that he has a community. And when the Trump administration said that he would be the blueprint of how immigration enforcement would be conducted going forward, I thought it would be very clear to all our representatives the stakes in his case, not just as an individual, not just on the fact that it was basically punishment for his engagement in free speech around the genocide that was happening towards his people, but also because of the impact that it would have on every.
What I'm saying is that the system we have capitalism better than having the state own the means of production. Like, Sacred, do you, I mean, how long, like, how long do you think capitalism has existed? Why do you not think that there's like a better economic model than just like what we happen to have right now? Like, you can't think of anything else that would be better than what it is. Like that's what I don't understand. Like, why, like, we just happen to have the best possible mechanism, like for economic. we just happen to have the best one. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that you can't think of any way to improve it or any problems that exist with it. And nobody's talking about a state owning the means of production. We're talking about the democratic ownership of the means of production. So it'd be the people that work there own the workplaces, not the state owning all the workplaces. Again, you're confusing a lot of these definitions.
Every immigrant in this country, on the First Amendment rights of every person on U.S. soil, and to know that our representative, the one that was representing him in that moment, that all he could offer were two sentences around trusting Trump's DOJ at a time where Trump's DOJ had just violated rule of law by detaining him in the first place, was deeply troubling. And so when I was first considering whether or not this was a race I wanted to throw my hat in, I just kept thinking about Mahmoud and the millions of people like him and Noor who are so fearful right now, and what it would have meant to them to have a representative who was actually fighting for them.
Finally, Daria Elisa Avila Chevalier, your plans for Congress when what looks like overwhelmingly, given your district, you will be elected in November.
I'm so excited to fight for the working people of this district to make sure that we can all afford to stay in the city that we love. And I think at the heart of that fight is making sure that we are centering human life. And that means that we need to start divesting from this war machine and reinvesting our tax dollars here in our community, fighting to eradicate childhood poverty, because all of the things that our babies need are the things that everyone in our community needs to be able to lead a dignified life.
And as I watched all the news accounts of your incredible upset victory over Espaillat, I heard your name pronounced about 40 different ways. So I was wondering if you could say for the country, in your own words, your own name.
My name is Daria Elisa Avila Chevalier, and I'm very grateful to you, Amy, for allowing me to do that.
Daria Elisa Avila Chevalier, New York's 13th Congressional District Democratic nominee. Congratulations. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe.
Yeah, the big problem that we have is that there's so much of like what socialism is or communism is. It's always given just like these names that have been embedded into our culture and our politics without people actually knowing what it is. It needs to be well regulated. Laissez-faire capitalism is a bad idea, but what you're suggesting isn't. Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah. Yeah, we're saying a more regulated market where the profits aren't given to a CEO or something, like a board or something, but it's like the ownership is the people that work there. And you'd still have competition. You'd still have like competition between workplaces. People change jobs. You're not going to work for the same company your whole life. Yeah. Nobody's saying that you are. Again, it's just so wild to me. Like, nobody is saying that you have to, that if we abandon capitalism, that you would have to all work at the same place through your entire life. If anything, you would have more economic freedom because you could go without actually having to be tied down to a workplace because of healthcare, because of a lot of different places people work, not because they want to work, but because they have to work there. So, like that, it's giving people the freedom to be like, hey, what do you want to do? What do you think that you would be best at? So the economic driver and people would be, economically more productive. So then how does that work? You're a part owner in the company that you work for that year. Yeah, Sacred. But people wouldn't hire you if you were just like, all right, I'm just going to leave after a year. Yeah, but yeah, you would. And how that ownership of it works, I don't know. That's a good question. Like, would it be in stocks? Would it be publicly traded? Probably not. Most companies wouldn't be. So yeah, would it be like a co-op? Yeah, Marcia, kind of. Or it could be something that it's like, Germany does it in the fact that they have, basically the workers own a portion of the. You could have a 50% plus one ownership by stock of the company. So, you know what I mean? Like there could be a lot of different ways of doing this, which I would be okay with trying different types. Like, I think the worst thing that you could have is a one size fits all. Do you know what I mean? I think that would be the worst thing. So you could have more competition and you could have different types of models of how workplaces should be owned. But I definitely think that you would want to say, hey, owners have to own a portion. Yeah, see, again, Sacred. Yeah, you're not understanding what we're talking about. We're not talking about free market capitalism. Yeah. We have a mixed capitalist society. I'm grateful I haven't paid any meds until I could afford them. I used to have pay hundreds in my healthcare insurance, but I lost because I'm in school. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, that's... No, we're not talking about that. Okay. 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 For sure. For sure. You got it. You got it. You finally got it. For sure. Okay. All right, guys. I am exhausted. I did jujitsu this morning. I streamed 2 times today, and I am exhausted. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I appreciate you. All the European countries we were talking about are different from each other, but they're all more fair than the US. Yeah, exactly. I think like the problem is that the problem is creating an economy based and centered around greed and gluttony rather than helping people. That's just what it is, you know? Like the idea of we are all going to be better if Elon Musk has $3 trillion as opposed to $1 trillion is like, I mean, that's just wild, you know? I mean, I truly cannot understand simps for capitalism being like the only possible way of going forward. It's like, it reminds me of religious people that think that their religion is true because they just happen to be born in a community that is a majority that religion. And it's like, yeah, that's a philosophical statement. Yeah, exactly, Sacred. Yeah, exactly. Because your values matter. I think that's exactly. Yeah. Free market capitalism allows you to have your co-op if you want. Yeah, exactly. And but with incentivization and how money goes, that doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. And that's the problem, is that it incentivizes greed and gluttony rather than worker ownership. And that's the problem. That's what we're talking about. Exactly, Sacred. Exactly. All right, guys. Well, thank you for... Exactly, Michael. Exactly. Thank you guys for hanging out in YouTube chat. I appreciate you. If you haven't already, please hang out. Check out my videos on YouTube. I got some coming out tomorrow. I put out some today. And thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for the support on YouTube. It really means a lot, everything to me right now. I'm really trying to push it. Thank you for hanging out. Be Dizzy Funk. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Meteor. Thank you, Jared. What's up, dude? Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you. All right, guys. I'm out. Have a good one. Peace. Bye.